Hi, welcome back everybody. This is the South Downs Poetry Festival on tour, popping up over the South Downs, and today here in Bognor Regis. Great pleasure to be at Blakefest with the fabulous Charlotte Glasson Band, who are doing two stints, one with the poetry and then followed after that all on their own. You won't want to miss them because they are, well, they're jazz royalty really. Charlotte is a multi-instrumentalist with her own unique brand of music. She's worked with as many luminaries as you can count on all your fingers. I particularly like Nick Cave's music and John Cooper Clarke, a punk poet, and Oasis and Divine Comedy. And Chris Spedding here had not only his own single Motorbiking, but he's worked with the Beatles, or at least Paul McCartney. And The War of the Worlds, Jeff Wayne, that is a sort of an evergreen musical. It's just recently been revived, hasn't it? Roxy Music, one of my all-time favourites, and we mustn't forget the Wombles. And Paul Taylor on trombone, over there. I've been hearing that he's a bit of a wordsmith too. So we'll put that to the test later in the set. Well, we're going to kick off now, first of all, with Charlotte Glasson.
B flat.
Yeah.
1, 2, 1. We're going to sit down.
Yeah,
shall we,
we're going to sit down, yeah. Fantastic. Kicking us off, the Charlotte Lassam Jazz Combo. And now we're moving to Rain Gagan, a Romany poet currently performing at festivals across the UK with her new Hedgehog press book, Apple Water Hovel Panny. She will explain. Rain is no stranger to performance, having worked as a dancer in a previous life. Please welcome Rain.
Under a gooseberry bush, in memory of my great-grandfather, John Ripley. Somewhere in Kent, this is where I was born and laid in me mother's arms, crying for me dear life. It was a warm day in June. Me mum and her people were on their way to the opfields in Peasmarsh. Me dad had gone ahead to meet some mushes, don't ask. Me poor mum was finding it hard, carrying me near to her time and the bump, bump, bump of the wheels of the Varda. They stopped in the Poog to have some obbin. Aunt May was making Joey Gray. The chavvies were running around. Me mum was soaking her feet in cool water. That's when it started. Her waters broke and the bowl went flying. There was hollering and shouting. Aunt May moved me mum under the bushes, told me cousins to get help from another travelling family. It was touch and go, according to me being the wrong way round. But thank the Lord there was a Rackley who had delivered a lot of chavvies. She pulled me out and I was born. I was named John Ripley after me dad. The Ed Rom came down and blessed me. He tied a little bag of rowan berries around my neck to ward off the bad mullah and to bring Kushti Bok. All the Rackleys put a little coin in my hand, as was the custom. We had left patron signs along the way, so we had plenty of folk to wet me little head. It's not every day a chavvy gets borned under a gooseberry bush. Of course, I never heard the end of it. Me mum and dad teased me rotten, and when I tells folks, they don't believe it. Mind you, it set me up for life, gave me strength, and I've had a bloody cushy life, I can tell you. Me mum used to tell me this story over and over. To tell you the truth, I've loved telling it as much as listening. Okay, the last 2 years I've been writing about my Romany family. I was brought up in a Romany household. I'm what's called Didikai, that means half Romany, half Gorgia. And I've had such a fantastic time. I have my pamphlet, Apple Water Hovel Panny, and I'm going to read a few from this today. And I've got another book coming out called They Lit Fires, Lenti Hatch O Yog. I use the Romany language. It's called Pogadi Jib, which means I use English and Romany side by side. And I think you won't need me to explain or illustrate the words, because I think you'll get the gist as I'm reading it. I'm going to recite this one. It's an interesting poem because going back in time when travellers were in their Vardas, going along the road, they would be eating rabbits and pheasants and chickens, but they also ate hedgehogs. Hotchi witchy. To bake an hotchi witchy, roll it in the clay, drop it in the embers of the yog. Go and sing a song, chase the sushi down the drum, do a little jig, jog, jog. When the clay is open, the spines will come away. What's left is sweet and tasty. Shank it while it's hot, it may be all you got. Gorge your food, it's not. Chew your little jig, jog, jog. Chew your little jig, jog, jog. Thank you. made into a film by a primary school in Herefordshire for part of a project they were doing on the photography of Derek Evans. And it's called A Memory of the Hopfields, and it's based on my granny, Amy Lane. A memory of the Hopfields. She is in the front garden, bending low, picking bluebells, wearing her old red apron with a Spanish dancer on the front. She stands up, rubbing her lower back, her mind shaping a memory. The Hopfields, her mother, lean, strong, picking the hops as quick as a squirrel, her bal in plaits tied on top of her head, her gold hoops pulling her ears down, ruddy cheeks, dry, cracked lips. Her father pulling poles, sweating, smiling, his gold tooth for all to see. At the end of a long day, she would stand on top of an apple crate, comb his hair, kiss his neck, tasting of salt. He would pick her up, swing her high, low, and say, "You're the prettiest little child there ever was." Now, everyone probably knows that gypsies get a really bad, they have a bad name. They're criticised, they're ostracised. In the 40s, 50s and 60s, they were constantly being moved on by the police. And I know from stories from cousins that this is true. This poem is really written for those gypsy travellers. It's called Keep Moving. The last weekend in May, a Friday, we pulled up on the Pooh. We got the fire going and washed the little chavvies ready for bed. Our Ryer and me were drinking mesky when our Sammy shouted, "Dick-eye, the gathers are coming." All the malts came out of the Vardas and we stood there. We had to hold the men back as the gathers started to wreck the sight. One of them kicked the kittle off the yog. He shouted, "Pack up and get going, you're not welcome here." I had to hold my Alfie back. He don't lose his temper much, but when he does, watch out. Like that time he smoked a gyro in the yacht outside the beer shop and ended up in the cells for a night. It rained hard, we got drenched as we packed up all our cobbles. The chavvies were crying, the men swearing under their breath, knowing if they said anything they'd get carted off. Our Tilda was moaning about not getting sushi stew. Our smalt started to sing. "I'm a Romany rye, a true Didikai. I build all my castles beneath the blue sky. I live in a tent, I don't pay no rent, and that's why they call me a Romany rye." As the men untied the horses, me and Raya cleared up the rubbish. I heard the gather say, "Bleeding jippos." My Alfie called out, "The gathers are grunts, let's gel on, keep moving." We kept moving, but sometimes we stayed put for a while, like when we was op picking or pea picking. "I'm a Romany rom, I travel the drum. I walk all the day and I dance through the night. I'll never grow rich, I was born in a ditch, and that's why they call me a Romany rye." All together in the Pooh, the best of times, thank the blessed Lord. This is a blackthorn stick, and it's also called the puckering kosh, which is it's a stick that was used in, Romans don't use it anymore, I don't think, but in the olden days, this would be part of the ritual. So when the elder was dying, one of the ends would be put into his or her hand, and the other end into the child, or the youngest one in the family. And this is a poem called The Puckering Kosh, the Talking Stick. Me grandad is dying, we're packed tight inside the Varda. "Dick at the old gyro," me cousin says, "he ain't long for this world." Well, we all gin that. I'm crouching by the door when an old mush comes in carrying a stick of blackthorn. "Here's the puckering kosh," me granny says. She picks up the youngest, our Emily, and puts her on the bed. The old mush gives the kosh to me grandad, who can barely hold it. Me granny takes the chavvy's vase and squeezes the other end of the kosh into her little fingers. Everyone is quiet. The mush sings a gilly, well it's more like diddling to me. Me grandad lifts his head, smiles at Emily, then falls back with a gasp. No one moves. I'm holding me breath. The chavvy takes the cosh and waves it in the air. Me granny says, "That's right, our gal, we do what you're doing." She laughs, then rows. One by one they all row, until they're all at it, and I breathe out. I whispers to me cousin, "Come on, let's gel and play in the pool." We get out of that barge quick sharp, we leave them to it. Okay, can I, yeah, because I'm back. Should I just lower a little bit? Okay, no, sorry about this, I have to sit back because I have to sit down because I have a bad back. This poem is really about when my granny and grandfather moved out of their Varda and into a brand new council house. It's called Just One Room. He stood on the back doorstep, took out a brand new key, unlocked the blue door. They both took their chockers off. He walked in first, she followed. Her eyes fell on the ceramic white sink in the corner of the kitchen. In the wagon they had 4 bowls. One made of gold china for washing their bodies, the others were metal, one for pots and pans, one for cutlery, and one for washing clothes. The smell of fresh paint hung in the air. Alfie knocked on the wall, stroked it, took a deep breath. Amy walked into the hallway, neither spoke. Once in the sitting room, Amy's mouth opened, wide. "Dick a kai, Alf." He came to the door. "We could fit our whole Varda in here," she said. "This is just one room." Okay, I'd like to read this poem, which is a new one.